Who in this room has something to protect? Okay, your life. What else? Family, your home, your business. So you letting me know that you're here lets me know you have something worth protecting, and you want to find out what that is and how to do that. And we're here to help you. Fitness, Fuel, and Fire. Fitness, Fuel, and Fire is here to help you to protect yourself. We are, again, a tactical firearms training academy, a community-based organization. We provide firearms safety education and training for the whole family, from 5 years old to seniors. My name is Crystal Energy. I am a team member of Fitness, Fuel, and Fire. I am both a healer and a firearms instructor. I represent the fuel, which is the nutrition and the self-care aspect of our company. We take a holistic and a natural approach to our training and lifestyle. We incorporate physical fitness, nutrition, detox, and firearm self-defense in our program. We know that self-preservation is the first law of nature, and we aim to preserve our temples with all that is available to us, exercising our bodies and our rights. This conversation has been had many times one-on-one, and we have discovered that most people are misinformed about this subject. So we felt the need to open it up to the public to get clear on the facts and the laws pertaining to the rights to own firearms in New York and New Jersey. We are here to dispel any myths and share with you some opportunities in the world of firearms that you may not be aware of. What we are used to seeing and experiencing, especially in the media, is the negative aspects of gun violence, whether crime-related, police killings, or mass shootings. We rarely hear of or witness the positive aspects of legal gun ownership by responsible citizens. Some positive aspects include personal and home protection, learning and developing a survival skill. This mic just went out. Oops. Hello. Okay. 2, the sport of shooting. There's competition shooting. And this develops community camaraderie that comes from joining a shooting club or a shooting team, such as the one we have, Kings and Queens of Caliber. There are also many youth shooting activities, such as hunting, skeet shooting, 3-gun competitions, and youth marksmanship programs. There are also financial scholarships and full college scholarships for shooting. And let's not forget, there are 15 different Olympic shooting competition events. Shooting is more than just violence. Shooting is an art, a sport, a science, and yes, I must admit, it's a lot of fun too. So we want to remind you that this is just the start of conversation, the beginning of a long, overdue dialogue that we hope to follow up with progress and elevate the game. We also want to inform you of the services that we, Fitness, Fuel, and Fire, offer to the community, including personal fitness training, self-defense, again, nutritional counseling and detox programs, including colon hydrotherapy. We have a variety of firearms training from beginning level up to advanced sniper. We also provide job training and job placement with our security guard training program. So whether you're looking to get fit, get healthy, or learn how to defend yourself, we've got you covered. Children's gun safety classes, beginner firearms, fundamentals, dry fire practice, we have it all. So we're here to introduce ourselves along with our panel to let you know the many opportunities you have in the world of firearms. I will now bring up Brother Batin Ashante, who is the founder and CEO of Fitness, Fuel, and Fire Tactical Firearms Training Academy. Ashante?
Good work. Greetings, everybody. Peace and blessings. Open this up for me. I want to say thank you to every single member of this community that took the time out to come and sit with us here at Fitness, Fuel, and Fire. I want to thank my panelists here. We got another Sister Valerie. Where are you, hon? Come on. You're going to have your place, Sister Val. So do we have enough room for her here? Welcome, welcome, welcome,
Hey,
Sister Valerie
Valerie.
Bay. All right. And we got one more member from the church community, Pastor Jason Hendrickson. He's on his way, and he'll be here shortly. All right. So before we get started, I just want to say thank you again. And I just want to do an upsell, taking the words from a friend of mine. Fitness, Fuel, and Fire offers basic pistol training. All right, so you can go on our website, you can give us a call, and we'll do pricing with you. Fitness, Fuel, and Fire is total fitness, boot camps, beginner training. If you feel that you're out of shape and you're ready to get back in there, you should give us a call. We can help you with that as well. If you're lacking in the nutritional area, we're going to call Sister Crystal. This is what we do. But right now, this whole forum here is to inform you and to dispel some of the untruths on how you can get your gun permit here in New York City. So we're just going to go straight to it, okay? We're going to go straight to it. What we plan on doing here today, we handed out to everyone here an application so you know exactly what it looks like. I'm here to tell you that now you're going to have to do this application online, but we plan on, if we have enough time, to go over that with you. We're going to make sure you understand the whole process before leaving here, all right? This whole forum here, we got the panel and experts here that's going to inform you on the laws and the changes that we're going to bring about here. So we have, to my far right over here, I think I said that right, Mr. Larry Sharp. This is going to be the next governor of New York State. So give my brother a round of applause. He has a wonderful position, and wait till you hear him speak. I want you to open up your mind and spirit to him, because he had a lot of information that he wants to share with us, and there's a lot of things that affect us with the New York City gun laws if you planning on doing anything in the gun area, okay? To his left, we got Mr. Lateef Dickinson from the New Jersey Firearms Academy. This man is a firearm expert. I am a humble servant and newbie under this man. Okay, so I'm not going to make more of myself. Every one of us has a teacher. This man, you have to go online to see, because we'll be here all night talking about what he does, but he's going to explain to you and tell you exactly what he does. To his left, we have Sifu Doug Pierre, stick fighting champion. He's going to go into his history. He's going to share the martial arts aspect, but he's a firearm enthusiast, and he's going to explain why he feels it's necessary to be proficient with firearm, even though he's a master martial artist. It's absolutely necessary, okay? And to his left here, we got Don Sheeman. Don Sheeman. This is our brother. We're working with Don at Professional Protection. This man is proficient in everything about New York fire safety. He's going to tell you everything he's done. He's a 20-year retired police officer. He's versed in everything. I want you to open up your spirit to this man, because he brings a great deal of knowledge to the table as well, right? Mr. Don Sheeman. We got Sister Valerie Graves Bay here, retired New York City police officer, sergeant. She's going to tell you her story, and she's going to share who she is and what she brings to the table, all right? So before we get started, I'm going to hand the mic down to Mr. Larry Sharp, and I'm going to let you get started, and I'll start off with the questions with you, okay there, brother?
You want me to talk first?
Yes, talk first, brother. It's on you. Introduce yourself.
Until tomorrow morning, though. Is that all right?
Introduce yourself, brother.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Larry Sharp. I'm actually born and raised in the Bronx, right by Yankee Stadium. Moved out to Long Island for a bit, and now I'm in Queens. I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm running for governor of New York, and you can vote for me in November of 2018. I am the Libertarian Party nominee, and looking also perhaps the Reform Party on top of that. So I may have 2 or 3 lines in November, so hopefully you can take some time to check me out at LarrySharp.com. I want to talk about a couple of things. The first one is the Second Amendment. A lot of people think the Second Amendment is about guns. It's not. It's the right to bear arms. It's not about guns. Arms. That could be anything. But more importantly, it's the Second Amendment. Why is it the second one? It's right after the first, which is the most important, Without our freedom of association, without our freedom of speech, without our freedom to go out and do what we have to do, freedom of the press, all the rest are irrelevant. So the Second Amendment is there to protect the First and to protect our rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and our property. That's what it's all about. Now I choose right now in my life to defend myself with my wits and my words. I hope it's good enough. But that has not always been the case. I have been around firearms in the past, and now I'm not. But I have. My father was a cop and a corrections officer, and I was a Marine for over 6 years. So I do know firearms well, but I've chosen to not have them now. But I may change my mind. It's not about whether I want a firearm. It's about how I decide to defend myself, whether that's against my bad guy next door, whether it's my neighbor, somebody who wants to take my things, my government, whatever the case may be. It's about my defense and my choice. Now, why am I so unhappy when I say that? I'm not happy because New York State has kind of forgotten that. They have decided that's not true. They've said not only can we not have firearms, but we can't have certain types of blades and knives, and certain types of chemicals we can't have, and we can't have certain types of weapons. We can't have lots of things. Don't worry, the government will protect us. Just call the police. They're good to us. That's where we are right now, and it's a bad idea. And on top of that, we've thrown on top of that the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act is an embarrassment. The SAFE Act was passed because people were emotional because of Sandy Hook. And I get it. Kids got killed, and that's emotional. I have children, and if you have children in your life, of course you would be emotional. I understand that completely. With that in mind, it was still wrong. The advantage of the SAFE Act is it's got the word safe in it. And I'm not joking. That marketing ploy worked. People believe that it made us safer, but it doesn't. What it actually did is it made a bunch of legal gun owners, law-abiding citizens, it made them criminals overnight. All of a sudden, these people were criminals. And they were criminals not because they did something wrong. They hurt someone, stole someone's car, broke into someone's house. No. Because His Majesty King Andrew decided that this piece of equipment is now evil. He decided that if you have one too many bullets, you are now evil. He decided if things that make it using a firearm easier, that these things were evil. But there's a problem with that. Most of these things that we talk about in the SAFE Act, they actually help to make a firearm easier, which means people who aren't physically strong or large could use them, such as women. The SAFE Act actually wound up making it harder for women to have firearms. But on top of it, it decided that people who had bought things, all of a sudden, these were now evil and wrong. Which means, how are you supposed to know that? And of course you know, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So it makes people afraid to talk about their firearms, which means people aren't going to report, people aren't going to register, which means it makes law enforcement's job even harder. People aren't going to trust the police because they're afraid they're going to get busted and lose all their firearms. So now it makes a job for law enforcement harder. But not just that. If you're in law enforcement, you know this. Law enforcement does not want to enforce the SAFE Act. They can't stand it. They don't like it. They want to try to get bad guys. They don't want to deal with the SAFE Act. Prosecutors love SAFE Act. Easy conviction. They love SAFE Act. Cops don't. The SAFE Act is a disaster, it's an embarrassment, and it's made no one safer. Now I know they say, but Larry, what about the school shootings? What about all these shootings we're having? The SAFE Act stopped that, didn't it? No, it didn't. When you look at people who are doing mass shootings, there are two things that are very common. Usually two things are true. One thing they almost all have, and one thing they almost all don't have. Number one, they almost always have some type of prescription to psychotropic drugs, which means they are in some way probably hurting in some way, shape, or form. That's not 100% true, but it's very often. It's the second piece thing they don't have. A girlfriend. Yes, I'm not joking. There's actually a group of people now called incels. You may have heard them before. These are people involuntarily celibate. They are a group of people who are mad at women and mad at the world, and they go out and decide to be violent. The last shooter we had who got the van, last mass with the van, was one of those incel people. The reason why we have violence is not because we have guns. The reason we have violence is because we have unhappy people. The SAFE Act does not touch that. Government does not touch it. If anything, government makes it worse. If anything, it makes it worse. Unhappy people means violence. And the answer I get all the time is, but Larry, I don't want kids shooting each other when they want to kill each other. Great, what weapon would you prefer?
I know, that's right. Larry,
What would you prefer? Yes.
I have a question for you here.
Yes.
Why do you think they made the gun permit process so difficult here in New York City?
Yeah, all right, let me move to that piece then. He doesn't want me to talk about SAFE anymore, I'll stop, I'll talk about that on SAFE. All right, let me go to something else. This is what I want to talk about, unifying. Look, I'm squarely with and behind localized government. There is no question, Queens is not the same as Batavia, Buffalo's not the same as Watertown. I get that, and no worries. I'm okay with localized government, it's a good idea. But there should be some minimum buying standards. Minimum. What I mean by that, even though each county decides how it wants to give its permit, I'm okay with that. However, there should be a rule, no more than 90 days, period. No more 18 months, no more 2 years, no more 12 months. This should follow the same as does many permits when it comes to building in this city. If your building permit isn't okayed with, I think it's 45 days, it's automatically approved. I want the same thing for firearms. If it's not approved in 90 days, it's approved, period. But as a second piece, there is no due diligence with this. So if some judge decides, no. Why? I don't like your hat. That's it. There's no due diligence. I want actual reasons why some judge says no, so there is due process and a way to appeal so we can understand what the problem is so that we can get our firearms. The reason why it is that way is because no governor has stood up to say there should be uniform standards for purchasing. Second piece, should be uniform standards for traveling and carrying your firearms. Now you travel, you bring your firearm to New York City, you're going to Rikers. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
You're going to Rikers. Again, that's embarrassing. We should be ashamed that that exists. We need uniform carrying regulation minimums. If your county wants to open it up, I'm fine with that. But the minimum should be, you can, as long as your firearm is legally owned, you should be able to carry it in any county in New York State as long as two things, locked and unloaded. If those two things are true, you should be able to bring your firearm anywhere. With the secondary piece, if you use your firearm, whether legal in that county or not, to help prevent a crime, there should be no prosecution. Yes, and if I am governor, when I become governor, I will enforce those three pieces to change our gun laws in New York State. Thank you.
Brother Larry, before you go, one more. What do you think about the NICS background checks?
Say again?
The NICS, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. What do you think about that?
I'm not against the background check at all, but there's a problem with that. I mean, I could talk forever on that. The problem with the background check is you can't add the mental illness piece.
Right.
The mental illness piece is a problem in New York State. Do you know if you're transgender, New York State says you're mentally ill? Do you know if you get in a car accident, I'm not joking, if you get into a car accident, right, and they pull you into an operating room, and you go, oh my God, I'm in so much pain, I want to kill myself, they have to report that. I'm not making this up. They have to report that, and now you're suicidal. You don't get guns anymore. So while conceptually I'm not against the background check, there are a lot of problems with the background check. It's not the way I'd like it to be.
All right.
So conceptually I'm okay with it, but there are some details we have to fix.
One more question. It's in question, and it would be in reference to the expungements.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is for members of our community who have had transgressions with the law.
Yep.
And they are 30 years clean, upstanding citizens, and they cannot have their cases expunged. What do you, as a potential governor, what do you plan on doing about that?
There are two issues here, and the first one is we have a problem in New York State where we don't have a justice system. We have a punishment system. And it's just about punishment, and that's all it's about. Punish, punish, punish. Here is my rule of thumb. Unless you have some illness, some problem, that in perpetuity makes you more likely to commit violence against others, and unless multiple doctors can say that is true and true now, why in the world are you being punished forever? No one should be punished in perpetuity for something that isn't a problem in perpetuity. It's just not fair, it's wrong, and it is by default cruel and unusual punishment, and therefore unconstitutional and un-American. Once you have paid your debt to society, whatever that is, whether that is 6 months in jail or 60 years in jail, whatever it is, once your time and your dues are paid, you should be a 100% full citizen with all of your rights reinstated, and as governor, I will make sure that happens.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to go, before we pass it on to Mr. Lateef, I want to commend you on your statement about Brother Bell. and about his release when you were asked what
Yes.
was your opinion about him being released. And
Yes.
I want to commend you, and I appreciate your heartfelt and honest answer in reference to that.
Absolutely.
I
People
appreciate
didn't like
that,
that, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to like it.
That was
You pay
beautiful.
your dues, you pay your dues.
That was beautiful, brother. Thank you so much. Next up, we got Mr. Lateef Dickinson. He's from New Jersey Firearm Academy, and I'll let Mr. Lateef introduce himself, and he can go on and tell you what he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I run the New Jersey Firearms Academy. We're right on the other side of the Hudson River, probably about 15, 20 minutes from New York. And about 30%, 35% of the people that come and train with us and do our firearm courses are New Yorkers, because they want to come and get some firearms training before having to go through the New York pistol process. And technically, the law is, as long as you have a clean record and you are eligible to purchase a firearm, then we can do a temporary transfer of ownership, meaning you can come to the range and use our guns and shoot. So anyone here, you don't have to wait, like here in New York, you have to wait and go through the whole process before you can even handle a firearm. You know, you can just come right across New Jersey, and we'll run you through the NRA, the basic pistol program. We've got rifle, pistol, shotgun, competitive shooting. You know, we do a lot with the firearms. Myself, I've been teaching for over 25 years. I'm a master instructor both on the civilian side and on the law enforcement side. I'm a competitive shooter. I'm on the New Jersey pistol team. I'm a pistol coach. I compete every weekend somewhere. I compete at the national level. And I've got guys that I take to the nationals. If you want to get into competitive shooting and have fun with it, you know, you're in the right place. You know, I did IDPA, practical and defensive shooting for about a dozen years. And now I'm in competitive bullseye precision pistol, and having a really good time with it.
Brother Lateef, I would like, when we were at your academy in Jersey and you spoke to the class, you gave us a little brief history on blacks and gun ownership, and I would like to know, would you be able to go into a little bit, you know, just a little history of the blacks and gun ownership in America?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have been selectively excluded from American gun culture from the beginning. In fact, I teach a private investigator course, and last night I gave a homework assignment to my students that about the birth of a nation and Jim Crow and those sort of things. You know, the inception of the Ku Klux Klan. I asked my class, well, why did the Ku Klux Klan start? Right? They had a mission, right? Their mission was to keep blacks down because, and that was their job. They're still alive and well to this day, and their membership and their growing in membership. So that being said, when I first moved to Jersey, because I'm from New York originally, I'm from the Bronx, and I moved to New York back in 97, 92, and I went right to the library and started reading up on the gun laws. And it did say on the books that blacks, drunkards and Indians cannot own firearms. That was the law back then, as of within the century. And then of course it got amended, but that was part of that selective exclusion. When you look at hunting and camping and fishing and all the other types of activities that are part of the culture here, American gun culture, so call it, we've been excluded. The only thing you see about blacks and guns typically is going to be what's on the news, right? What's in your face from the media, which is always going to be something sensational. It's going to be, that this, somebody's 5-year-old got shot by a stray bullet in the playground. And they promote that, and they have that in your face. So what do we think? Because in New York, they make it so hard. They make it such a hard process for you to own a firearm, okay, that most people are discouraged from it and don't feel that they have the right. Right?
Yes, sir.
I have a student that got his permit. He had a problem. I called one police plaza, and they said, "Well, it's a privilege that we're allowing him to have a firearm, so he cannot take his gun." Whereas one of my students, I'm taking him to Camp Perry in Ohio. And in New York, a pistol permit says you can only take your gun to a New York approved range. There aren't any New York approved ranges outside of New York. Now, since then we are, and we do the New York 47-hour security class, we've been approved to do that. But here you have the city telling you that you can't take your property outside of the city. There's something unconstitutional about that. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association actually lost that legal battle and needs to be reawakened, because there's no way that, and also the person saying that it's a privilege that we're allowing this person to have a firearm. That's the position, that's the attitude of New York,
Yes.
that for you to have a firearm, we'll decide whether or not we can allow you to have one. Right? But it's our right.
It's our right.
It's the Second Amendment right that we have to own and protect ourselves. They say when seconds count, the cops are just minutes away.
Isn't it the truth?
I'll tell you what, I'll take care of business first, I'll call 911 after.
That's right.
Okay? I can't take care of
Brother Lateef, I want to ask you, I've watched you work, and I see the different clientele that you bring to the range, and I saw your student yesterday. So what I wanted to ask you, what are some of the differences that you've observed with the, that stops the African-American youth from getting into competition kind of events? What are some of the disparities, and what do you find are the limitations, and what stops them from getting involved with programs like that, brother? Yes, sir.
Well, number one is going to be the availability and the support from the parents. You know, the kids that I have that come and train with me pretty much got a lot of support from the parents and from their family, and it's not, it doesn't have that stigma. You know, in most of our families, you know, they think about guns and the kids, and it's like, oh, you kind of shrink away from that. But when it's done properly, to me, it actually makes them safer, because what happens is when kids get in trouble with guns, it's a couple of things. Either they're gangbanging, right? You saw President Obama was crying about all the little children dying from gun violence every day in Chicago. Well, guess what? That child age goes up to 26, and that's the highest, you know, it's a gang problem, it's a drug problem. That these kids, yeah, they're shooting each other, but you know, don't be in a gang, don't do drugs. And then the other thing is when you introduce children to firearms young, it demystifies the gun, right? So now you have kids and, ooh, my daddy's got a shotgun, a rifle, ooh, they want to touch it. You know, I was that kid, right? My first gun was my grandmother's .22 revolver, and I looked under the mattress and, ooh, look at that, right? So to make the kids safer, you take them in the proper context, take them to the range, teach them gun safety, and where it is. And I'll tell you what, parents, kids get real bored with shooting real fast, all right? So out of 100 kids, we may have 1 or 2, and I have some students that, you know, Kumar, one of my instructors, he's now 23, 24 years old. He started, he was 16, and he's one of those rare kids that I would give him ammo and the gun and walk away and see what he does with it. He shoots up the ammo, come back for more ammo. They come back for more ammo. Right now, that boy can go into any agency as a firearms instructor. He's been with me for 9 years, right? You know, but it's you have to put them in front of that. Maybe he wants to do basketball. Maybe he wants to do this or that. What is he drawn to? The other thing that keeps kids out of shooting sports is when the parents give them too much stuff to do. I've had good kids that, you know, they're in church and they're in this and they're doing that and they do this and then they go to the range. It really takes a dedication.
Yes.
You know.
And one more question before I let you go, my brother. I know you've been on the front lines for quite some time in New Jersey. And what do you find the similarities between the stringent gun laws in New Jersey in comparison to New York, if you understand how I'm trying to ask that question?
The biggest thing with New York and New Jersey, and this is why I like to cross over with them, and the laws are fundamentally similar, because New York and New Jersey are what are called possessory states. The possession of the gun is the crime in New York and New Jersey. Once you get across the Delaware River, just because you're in possession of a gun does not mean necessarily that you're committing a crime, because you have the right to bear, and in most of those states, 40 of them, bear means carry. So you have the right to carry wherever you have the right to be in most of the rest of the country. But in New York, New Jersey, California, Illinois, there are about 11 states that the possession of the gun, so if you're in New York and you're in possession of a firearm, you don't have the New York permit, and they're going directly to or from the range, you've just committed a third-degree offense. In New Jersey, it's third degree. So that's a mandatory 42 months under the Graves Act, 3.5 years, mandatory. If you're in possession of a firearm, you're not going directly to a range or from your home to the range or something like this. And that is the main similarity between New York and New Jersey, that they see the possession of the gun in itself is the crime.
Did they change, my brother, the hollow points, the years you get for a hollow point bullet that you have in your magazine? Or can you explain
No, well,
that?
in New Jersey, that's like an add-on kind of thing. New York is real good at stacking charges on top of charges on top of charges.
Very good at that.
And if you don't have the funds for the legal representation that it's going to take to properly fight that stuff, you're going to wear it, you're going to take whatever kind of plea that the prosecutor gives you. All right? So In New Jersey, at least, you're exempt. New York isn't bad with hollow points. But again, from the home to the range. And the same thing in New Jersey, you can have hollow points in your home. You can have them at the range and going directly to or from the range and home.
All right. All right, we're going to hand it over to Seafood Doug Pierre.
I was brought in by Ashante because I am a stick fighter. Now, I've been doing martial arts around 53 years. But I came into the martial arts as a boxer. But I thought martial arts was this magical, mystical thing. And I said, later for boxing, I want to learn that magic stuff. These guys are breaking bricks and stones, and I want to learn that. Then I found out that it's all about hard work. Nothing magical or mystical about it. It has become my lifestyle, the martial arts. I travel a lot. I've been to like 23 countries. I got students in different countries. The one thing that I've noticed in all of the years that I've studied martial arts is that it doesn't work for everyone. Martial arts deals with a small segment of society. That's why you go to the dojo, there's not a lot of students in there. Most of the time you have to be kind of young, kind of fit, or really willing to suffer the pain to get in shape and stick with it. I was told that 1,000 people will come into your school, maybe 3 or 4 of them will reach any level of black belt. So with that thought in mind, I was always looking for the most violent martial arts for me. I found that karate wasn't violent enough for me. Because I was in tournaments playing tag. I wasn't getting hit and I wasn't really pounding on nobody. So I said, wait a minute, this ain't violent. If somebody comes at me violently, I want to match his violence with my violence. So I went into jujitsu, a violent style of jujitsu. It was like yelling, screaming, grabbing, snatching, throwing, boom, boom. Still not violent enough for me. Why? Because it was cooperative. It was cooperative training. What I'm saying is not to disparage people from studying martial arts. I think everybody should learn a martial arts, regardless of what it is, because it will develop you as a person. When you're in the street and someone wants to attack you, you got to deal with that fight or flight and stress level. If I'm constantly training without it, I'm not prepared for it. I'm not going to wake up one morning and say, I'll put on my Superman outfit. That's not going to happen. I'm going to do what I trained to do, period.
At that level.
Yes. So, still looking for something more violent for me. 1977, 76, I was introduced to Filipino martial arts, which was stick fighting. Let me correct that, stick and knife fighting. Now, I looked at it and I said, in our society, there's really 3 weapons. There's the blunt object, the sharp object, and the gun, the projectile. Those are our 3 weapons, and the mind. But I can't hit you with my mind, all right? So, when I got into full contact stick fighting, I got everything I ever wanted. These guys would whack you with that stick and not stop. So that satisfied the stress level. The other thing is stick fighting is very effective. That means everybody in this room, I could teach stick fighting to in an hour. And every last one of you will be effective. You will be able to hurt a person seriously. The concepts of what stick fighting is, because all of the other martial arts that I study, it was hard for me to convey that thought to all of my students. Some of them were strong, some of them were women, some of them were overweight, and I couldn't teach all of my concepts to them where they could get it right away and use it. Stick fighting, after an hour, they became lethal. So I said, wait, what am I going to put all my focus in? Stick fighting. You know why? Because it's real. And when I say stick fighting, that means anything I pick up becomes that stick. Even my cell phone. And the concept of stick fighting is different than other martial arts. Martial arts teaches you self-defense. You all are familiar with that term. Yeah, I know, but we're talking to the novice, not to you masters. All right? Self-defense puts me a step behind because I gotta wait for you to do something before I feel comfortable to do something back to you. Filipino martial arts is about self-offense. The minute you come, we attack. And what we attack is your hand, because that's the threat. If you punch, reach, or try to grab, we're going to shatter the bones in your hand with whatever we have. That includes, some people say, well, you know, I don't always have a stick. Most of you read books, magazines, and newspapers. Roll it up and bang yourself in the head with it. And tell me if it doesn't work. Poke yourself in the eye with it and tell me it doesn't work. So, for all of the people who can't spend the time and the energy to train in traditional martial arts, Filipino stick fighting is the first response before the gun. I'm on a mission to teach the Filipino martial arts because, one, it's African-based. The first Filipinos were African pygmies. See, and
Next question.
if you pull a gun out, that's lethal.
Yes.
You cannot take that back. With a stick, I have the option to see if I'm going to go that far and hopefully stop you. And with a stick or umbrella or roll-up magazine, I can take you and your boys out. Easy. But the gun is something that we all should have. Definitely. And we should all train in the gun.
Good evening, everyone. I've been a licensed gun owner from my law enforcement days for now 3 decades. For 17 years, I've taught unarmed security officers, fire safety, fire life safety directors, new category in New York City. My goal was to empower people. First start with motivation and attitude. Attitude is one of the biggest reasons that some of the issues exist among any group in any city. Major metro being the worst, because that's where the attitudes flare. So I teach a calming factor, and one of my taglines is, before you do anything, before you act, say to yourself, for what? I'm doing this for what? For what reason? 17 years, thousands of people, I've seen some differences. And you talk about attitude and motivation. I want to touch on what Mr. Sharp said originally about people that do bad things with those firearms. There's pain somewhere. I would rather expand on that and find out what the pain is and how we can look at that. The device is not the issue. As he said, there are many devices. You could pick any device. We give people automobiles that go 120 miles an hour to an 18-year-old. You can't go 120 miles an hour on our highways or our city streets, but you can kill a family of 4. Devices are not the issue. Looking at maybe that prescribed medication he spoke about. Maybe if that's the home that firearms are in, we take a look at that. Take a look at what issue might arise. Who is bullied? Bullying causes suicides, and we don't look at it enough. There are many other issues, not devices. Mr. Lateef mentioned about demystifying. I want to touch on what he said. My children learned about firearms from a very early age. HR 218 was put in place multiple times and amended, which allowed somebody such as myself, former law enforcement, to qualify each year, make sure I know the current rules, laws, and that I know what I'm doing. Know that I can use it effectively if I needed to defend myself, my family, or anyone in this room.
That's right.
And I have to pass by a certain minimum standard before they give me that card. And that card allows me somewhat to carry anywhere in the country, with the exception of this building, and most courthouses, and schools, and the fire department, so on and so forth. The whole thing is about educating and empowering people, and that's what we're all doing here, we're educating. The more education, the better it is. In most of these gentlemen you heard, it's about education, educating you to protect yourself, educating you to know your rights. One of the other services that I've been involved with for 25 years is a company called Legal Shield, and we empower people to know their rights. As a senior manager and associate, no one should leave home without it. And if your firearm is with you, have more protection.
My name is Val Carey Reeves Bay, and I am a retired New York City police sergeant. Since my retirement, I have gone into entrepreneurship. I am the CEO of TOTM Time of the Month, which is a menstrual wellness company. I'm not going to really speak about that because I was invited based off of my law enforcement background. So
Yeah, educate us. What's next?
So, I'm sorry, did I hear some no's back there? Because I actually, that would actually encourage me to speak, because I am an author, a speaker. I actually have a television show that educates people on menstrual wellness. And it's very important that not only our youth, but some of our women need to be aware of menstrual wellness. But I don't want to divert the topic. I do want to speak about firearm safety, and I do want to piggyback off of some of the comments that were made. I joined the force in 1994, and in 1995, I actually gave birth to a child. My daughter is now 22, and I never had an issue with my firearm in her presence, because like Mr. Graves said, when they're young, you should introduce them to your firearm. And I think I introduced my daughter Shelby, who actually is the muse behind TOTM Time of the Month. I introduced Shelby to my gun probably around the age of 6. I showed her the weapon, and I explained to her that it was not a toy, because in the event, while I did have a safe box in the house, children are very curious. You don't know what they're doing when they're doing it. Sometimes they could be looking over your shoulders. You may figure out what my combination is, and out of curiosity go into my safe box. So I did show her the mechanisms of the weapon, and I explained to her that it is not a toy, and it has repercussions when you use it, because once you use it on someone, it becomes fatal. So if in fact you're interested in becoming a firearm owner, here in New York City, they don't allow concealed permits for our citizens. However, you can have a shotgun permit for your home, and I advocate and I believe that we should all have the right to protect our homes. But if in fact you do have a weapon in your home, you should exercise firearm safety, especially when there are children involved. And when you have your children bringing their friends over, you don't want your gun to be the attraction of your house. And you don't want to be responsible for accidents that are detrimental. But it's difficult for women who wear form-fitting clothing to carry a concealed weapon. And so you have to get creative as to where you're going to place your weapon, whether you are going to chance it and wear it, put it in a bag. I'm now retired, so I don't have that issue. so I can carry my weapon in my bag if I choose to. I would, depending on the clothing, if I'm wearing jeans, I would use a side holster and wear my weapon that way. And then there's times when, you know, I'm going out, depending on the location, I'm not gonna carry my weapon. I don't need to carry my weapon every day. And speaking of which, I just wanna kinda backtrack. I am a Brooklynite. I'm Brooklyn bred and born. Thank you. I live in Bed-Stuy. I patrol the 8-3 precinct, which is Bushwick, which is the neighborhood right over from from Bed-Stuy. And so as a Brooklynite, I'm not afraid of my neighbors. So I don't feel the need to constantly wear and carry my weapon. But then when there are times in the climate, when there's certain things that are happening in the community and in the news, and you're on heightened alert, then I may choose, you know, I think because I do have the privilege, and it is a privilege to carry, and it's an unrestricted concealed carry. I am privileged. So I will carry it. And it's not just for my safety, it's for the safety of my neighbors who cannot carry. Depending on what my attire was, would sometimes dictate which weapon I carried and how I carried it. While it is not I wouldn't advise women who are not trained in firearms to carry firearms in their pocketbooks. I'm well aware of my weapon at all times, and I'm not actually afraid that somebody's going to take my weapon. Again, I would say what's happening in the news determined whether I was going to carry my Glock, because my Glock is going to carry 15 and one in a chamber. Or am I going to carry this 5-shot?
Get ready. We got one more member here down at the end of the table. We need to pass the microphone.
Oh, did he make it?
We got a pastor, Jason Hendrickson. I call him the shooting pastor. And the reason why my brother is here is because we saw what happened down in South Carolina. And now we're addressing the issues of arming members of the church. And so my brother advocates firearm safety. And I love this man because he likes to smell of gunpowder like I do. So this is my dude. So I want to introduce and welcome my brother in the spirit of the Most High, and my brother in literal meaning, all right? Brother Jason, Pastor Jason Hendrickson. Please make him feel welcome.
Thank you. How's everybody doing? Good. Typical preacher shows up late. But I did not analyze the traffic correctly. But I'm here because I honestly believe that, number one, traditionally, perpetrators, especially in the hood, seem to always think that churches are soft targets. And for whatever the case may be, that ideology is in the streets. And people think that they can just run up in a church and get away with whatever. But I am one of those pastors that if they run up in my church, they're gonna get a real special surprise. Because culturally, it's unfortunate that most of our first encounters with a firearm was due to a violent situation. And that's why even today when some people called me and I put up the flyer that I was gonna be here tonight, it was like, Pastor, you a pastor, what you doing going up there? I said, see, it's misinformation that always cripples the people. We don't have the information of the events that take place in the Olympics or the scholarships that our young people can get by entering in shooting competitions. Again, because our first encounter is with a violent situation. So I think that what we have to do is change the perception of our community, and the only way that we can do that is by becoming educated and being well-versed when it comes to firearms. because I believe strongly that presentation creates perception. And I believe that, again, our first presentation with firearms in our community has always been through violent crimes. That's why a lot of people cringe at the talk of carrying a gun when it is your Second Amendment right. It is your right as a United States of America citizen to bear arms. But because of what has been endrafted into our minds over the years, we look at it as a negative thing, but I think it's a very positive thing. And I think that all pastors should be armed. I think all our security should be armed.
Go ahead, brother.
I think that all of our women should learn how to shoot. I think that all of our children should learn how to shoot. When I go up to the range, Connecticut, sometimes in Jersey, I see Caucasian kids,
Yes.
10, 11 years old, unloading and stacking, bah, 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 handling AR-15s with precision. And that's because it was introduced to them at a young age, because guns don't kill people. People kill people. So I think the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is for a good guy to have one. So, you know, from the church perspective, we praise God, we worship the Lord, and we honor Him. But we also have a scripture in the book of Matthew that says, the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence, and the violence take it by force. We are peaceful people until you cross the line. And if you cross the line, I think you ought to be dealt with, because our women ought to be respected. Our houses of worship should be respected. And I think that, and most of us believe, that if somebody in Charleston had a gun, it would have ended the way it ended with all those deaths. So I think it's high time that we become aware of our right to carry arms and stop the negative connotations attached to it, and let's become educated and empowered.
I have a question for you, dear Pastor. As a firearm advocate, do you advocate your children?
Absolutely. I'm teaching my daughter to shoot right now. You know, we have the dummy target set up in the basement.
Come on now.
With the BB guns. I'm teaching her how to hold the gun, because I want people to understand, especially my family, if something jumps off, and y'all forgive me, I'm from the project, so I know I'm a pastor, but I still talk a little hood. So if something pop off in my crib, you know what I'm saying? I want my daughters, because I'm the only dude in my house. I got a wife, 3 kids, 3 grandkids. So if somebody run up in my crib and they get me first, I need my wife not to go into panic mode. I need my daughter not to go into panic mode, but to put 2 in them. Put 2 right in it. And call 911 after. You dig? Because I think that's what we need to start doing. We need to start, even not just with violence, just our people, period. We need to start becoming people of action. We talk a good talk about everything. And we're strong starters but poor finishers. So after this meeting tonight, it would be a waste of time if Fitness, Fuel, and Fire did not have an overwhelming response of people that want to sign up for training. Because we do this all the time. We organize like that. We'll come to meetings like that. But what do you do after the fact? And we wait till something goes down. Then we have an understanding. Then we have a new level of compassion and passion for a situation. But we need to become less reactive and more proactive as a people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that being said, this is the whole reason for this coming together. We're opening up a conversation. Again, we got the next governor of New York State, Brother Larry Sharpe. And we love this man. I want you to support this man here. Look him up. I know how we are as a people at times, but we need somebody to go up here and do the work that Cuomo is not doing. I am telling you, the criminals are more prepared in a disaster-type situation than the hard-working members of this community. So I'm saying to you this: if there was a disaster-type situation here in New York City and you had to hunker down where you are, after 3 days, can you still stay in that same place? And what you have in your house, what's to prevent your enemies? And we're talking about when it gets 3 to 5 days and nothing's going on and no lights and no heat, your enemy becomes everybody. What can you do to protect yourself and your family where you're hunkered down at? All right? What kind of training are we taking on? When are we going to stop the excuses in our community? We have been bamboozled, and the rock has fell on you again. And when I say it like this: you've been told in New York City that you cannot own a firearm. Wrong. Why do they have the West Side Fire range? Why do they have the Park Avenue Fire range? Why do they have ranges in the Bronx if you can't own a gun in New York? Listen to me, people. I need you to reason out with me, all right? I want you to do your due diligence. We are in the 11th hour, and at what point do we become accountable for our own work? All right? Today changes everything. You can get your firearm legally in New York. You can do it. You need to take a basic firearm safety class, 8 to 5 hours. If you filed in New York prior to this and you were denied and you didn't take a basic firearm safety class, you were denied because you showed you didn't have any proficiency with weapons. Understand what I said. Fitness, Fuel, and Fire in the New Jersey Firearm Academy offers basic pistol classes. All right? This is very serious. You can get your shotgun, your long gun permit right here in New York. That's home safety. You could throw some slugs up in there. I don't recommend birdshot in a shotgun in an apartment. Slugs. But you can get it legally. And there's nothing stopping you but yourself. So I want to address this today, and I'm going to go off for a second, and I'm going to address everybody here. Everybody who came in, I gave you an application. You should have one. I gave everyone here, and if you didn't, there should be some available. We've run out, so I'm sorry, because y'all were late. But this is, yes, give him the mic right here. Yes.
Yeah, right on what Ashante was saying. You know, they make the process in New York difficult to discourage people from going through that process. Do not let the government discourage you out of exercising rights of yours. It is a process. We'll help you get through the paperwork, and it's a lot of paper. It's $340 that, you know, but when you get it, you got it. Okay, and you know, we're here for your support with how not to lose it and to go through that process. But don't let them discourage you out of exercising your rights.
That's right. You got to say something, Brother Larry, on that?
No, I think that the most important piece here is it is our right, and even though it's hard, if more of us actually say we want it, if more of us actually do it, it will force politicians to act. A lot of politicians actually think this is wrong, but they're afraid. They're afraid that the second they give in and something bad happens, the press is going to crucify them and they're going to lose their seat.
Yes.
And that's what they care about. No matter what politics you might believe in, every single politician cares about one thing: their own personal power. They all care about that, no matter what, whether left, right, whatever you might be, doesn't matter.
Yes, sir.
If enough people say, no, I want this, they will turn.
Us.
So we need to do this,
Yes.
so they will turn.
Yes. I think we're going to do another forum. We're going to plan another one. We want a bigger turnout. Okay, and I got one more thing to say. We're going to go over your application before you go. We're going to explain this to you. All right? We're going to explain the application process. Doug Seafood, you got something you want to say?
Yeah, the presenter, Ashante, if I'm not mistaken, you live in Connecticut, right?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay, so for you guys that live in New York and you want to take his gun safety course, we're going to be offering those in my school. All right? My school is 188 East 3rd Street, between Avenues A and B. And while you are practicing all of the other martial arts, I love them all, man, I really do. But while you are practicing the intricacies of other martial arts, and I don't want to discourage you from doing that, because it will change you as a person. But in the meantime, you should arm yourself with some stick fighting, just in case.
We're going to give it to Doug. Don, do you want to add on to your firearm safety and why you advocate firearm safety in the community for children?
Very important firearm safety for children. In fact, just like Sifu, our place is in the Bronx, Castle Hill Avenue, and we welcome classes to go on there too for both adults and children.
Yes.
And Ashante and Crystal are welcome to come there and bring people in and train and learn. And we have a host of training going on, and that's a very important aspect, and that's why you're here this evening to hear about it.
Yes.
What's the name again?
Professional protection, and that's 1248 Castle Hill Avenue, Bronx, New York. 1 block from the Westchester Avenue 6 line train station.
And to add on to what my brother Don said, Crystal and I will be working with him. We'll be doing the DMV classes for points, point reduction, insurance reduction. We're working with Brother Don. We bring in that service. We also bring in that service with Brother Jason, because Brother Jason's church is now a school. So we'll be doing firearm safety training in our brother's temple as well. So we are connecting family. We are not playing here. We also do fire guard training. So if you are in a position and want to do any security, you're going to talk to Don here. We do fire guard. He do what? FLSD classes. He does the yearly, the annual stuff. This guy is serious. Talk to him. He'll tell you all kind of things he do. I'm too old to remember all that stuff.